I think it's interesting how ever since Hata Studio first showed off NTE to the world, the internet has been trying to put a label on it. The most popular one, and the one that makes the most sense by far, has been anime-style GTA. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, we are getting red-haired cat girls stealing cars before GTA 6. I know, revolutionary. I mean, I can't blame them. It's an easy comparison to make. This game has a massive urban city, drivable cars. I mean that literally, by the way. Most of the time in these games, the cars are props. Here, we can actually drive them. And of course, the thing that makes it anime-style GTA, a wanted system. But as we move into the 2026 COEX test, which is the latest round of private beta testing, it is becoming clear that this game is evolving into something never seen before. Something completely new. For sure, something we can absolutely be excited for. If you look past the flashy abilities and the high-speed chases, there is something more experimental happening under the surface. Most open-world games nowadays try to be smooth as possible. They want to remove any obstacle between you and the fun aspects of the game. And while that is not entirely wrong, some may even consider that a good thing, NTE is doing the opposite. It is a game that embraces its complexity. Today, I want to look at the latest build of the game and talk about why that complexity might be the most important thing about NTE. From the NPCs who refuse to give up their cars, to the way the city eventually puts you in a cage if you're naughty. Hetero is a simulation that is trying to push back and make you earn it, and make the experience super fun. And it starts with the way the city itself is built. People keep calling this game anime GTA, but after looking at the beta footage and given the opportunity to play the game myself, thank you by the way, Hota Studios, that comparison starts to feel a bit shallow. I feel like this is way more than that. Take a look at the bird's eye drone footage, for example. I mean, come on, we have seen high fidelity cities before, but NTE is trying to do something specific here. Look at the verticality, the scale of these buildings, and something not talked about in my opinion, and this is probably a very niche compliment, but I don't care. The transition going from the outside world to the inside areas are very seamless. Moving from a bustling street directly into a high-end apartment with zero interruptions. Man, it's just nice to have. I don't know what else to say. But where things get actually interesting and maybe a bit frustrating is how the world pushes back. In a standard sandbox game, or really, almost every sandbox game ever, NPCs are basically just props. If you want their car, you take it. They scream, they run away, they call the cops, they fight back, whatever, right? You don't care. You just drive off. But in the footage I've been looking at, and I tried this myself, NTE has like a consent mechanic. When you try to requisition, which is just a fancy word for taking or borrowing. Yes, I know, complex words, brain is fried. Anyways, when you try to borrow a vehicle from a driver on the streets, they can just say no. Like, brother, what do you mean no? Give me the damn car, get out! Like, they will literally tell you they're busy and refuse to get out. It is a small detail, but it changes your relationship with the in-game world. You are not a god here. You're just some person in their way of going to their job, which is just a little bit too realistic in my opinion. But let's say you decide you are not taking no for an answer, because how dare these NPCs refuse giving me what I want, and you start attacking the car with a weapon or kicking the doors. The game doesn't just let you have it. The driver stays inside, terrified, and starts screaming for help. And that is when the cops shows up, and they don't mess around. The police feel like a legitimate threat to your playtime. If you're causing trouble, they will literally brutally tase you and detain you. Is this also realistic? Man, I don't even know anymore. And so even if you have supernatural special abilities, you still have to live in a society that has rules. And if you break those rules, you get a one-way ticket to prison. But before we talk about the consequences of your actions, let's move on from the world itself and look at the people inhabiting it. In most gachas, your characters are basically digital action figures. You collect them, you level them up, you love them, you care for them. NTE is doing all that and making them work for you. The game divides its cast into these organized labor units, essentially supernatural work departments. You have the CSU2, who are basically the cleanup crew for anomalies, and the ETD, the teams who handle the high-risk missions. The supernatural isn't treated like a magical mystery, it is treated like a 9-to-5 job. It is the new normal in this game. I mean, imagine if someone has superpowers and they're not regulated in one way or another, right? I know if I got superpowers, I ain't gonna be the good guy, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be taking the cars. But back into the characters, usually a bond system in these games is like do dailies with them or quests with them. game, and the affection number goes up and you unlock a voice line or lore. But here, it is integrated into the space. The characters don't just exist in your account, they can actually visit your house or ride in the passenger seat of your car. There is even a hand-holding mechanic while you're walking through the world, something I have personally asked for in so many of these games. NTE is the best game ever. I love NTE. It sounds a bit parasocial. I mean, it is a bit parasocial. Oh, who am I kidding? It's definitely parasocial. And am I gonna complain about a world-changing mechanic? Hell no! I want this. I need this. I crave this. And if I can't have a human being touch me, might as well get it from a gacha game character, you know what I'm saying? This whole thing makes the world feel so much more inhabited. It makes it so much more immersive. And so, give or take, about 2.5 hours into the game, the focus shifts away from the supernatural mystery and moves towards a city tycoon. This is where you stop being a fighter and start being a manager. That is right, in this version of GTA, we can have jobs, or more specifically, employ people, running a cafe or looking after the antique shop. You are moving up in the world by owning things instead of just hitting things. You are looking for fawns. Clever wordplay, by the way. That is the local currency, collecting more and more stuff until you have a pile of it. Traditionally, progression means a bigger number on your screen, dealing bigger damage, or having higher level characters, or more characters. In NTE, it is all that for sure, but it is also a faster car, with a better engine, or a better apartment. It is the first time I see a gacha game that acknowledges that we don't just play these games to save the world. We play them to get better stuff. Even the gacha system, the way you pull or win new characters, is built like a game of chance you would find in a casino. It is literally a Monopoly board. Instead of just clicking buttons, you roll a dice and move a piece around a board to see what you would get. An opinionated choice by the developers. It fits the theme in a way. Using a board game about buying property as the way to recruit your teammates is a bit on the nose, but it reinforces the idea that in this world, everything has a price and everything is a gamble. And if that gamble doesn't pay off, or if you try to take what you want without paying for it, the city has a very specific way of putting you back in your place. In the earlier versions of the game, getting arrested was basically just sitting around and waiting for a timer to end before you could play again. As you can imagine, it was boring. But for this 2026 update, they have turned prison into its own hidden dungeon. Being caught isn't a game over, it is a genre shift. Suddenly, you're not playing an open world action game, you're playing a prison break simulator. If you choose to do so, of course. You have to handle your time, interact with inmates, and eventually find a way to escape if you want your freedom back. This shift into a darker, more restricted gameplay style reveals the city's dark underbelly. We see this game shift in a new hospital dungeon. While most of the game feels like a cinematic urban comedy, the dungeons pivot into a more survival horror type of gameplay. There's footage of players having to hide in lockers to avoid supernatural creatures. It is a really big contrast. You can choose to drive a colorful car through a neon street, or you can put yourself in a situation where you're holding your breath in a dark hallway hoping someone or something doesn't find you. NTE doesn't feel like those conservative gacha games, which, by the way, speaking of gachas, they removed the 50-50 pity, which is, in my opinion, the most annoying rule in gacha games, where you only have a coin flip's chance of getting the character you actually want. They're focusing so much on things like vehicle destruction and the prison breaks. Hata is moving toward a more Western RPG experience. They're leaning into the deep reactive systems you usually only see in big AAA console games. So I really hope this game succeeds. Ultimately, NTE is a big attempt to solve the static city problem. Most open world games feel like a high-end theme park, incredible from a distance, but the moment you interact with the world outside of a mission, the illusion falls apart. In Hetero, the developers are leaning into friction. It is the NPC who tells you no when you try to take their car. It is the prison cell you actually have to break out of. It is the business you have to manage instead of being a wandering hero. This is a massive shift for Hata Studio, moving away from theme park design toward a true simulation, a game that tries to copy how a real complex world works. It is a gamble for sure. Most gacha games are built to be power fantasies that make you feel like the most important person in the room. By adding all of these resistance distances, NTE offers a difficult urban life instead. It asks if you're willing to trade that easy hero feeling for a world that actually feels like it exists whether you're there or not. Whether that gamble pays off depends on what you want from an anime GTA. In an era where most games are hyper-optimized to be as smooth as possible, does this kind of friction make the world feel more immersive or just more frustrating? I'd be curious to hear what you think in the comment section below, but that is all from me, 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗆, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!